everyone. Welcome back to Title IX Insider. This month, we're going to be focused on Sexual Violence Awareness Month, also known as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And we're going to be dedicating each week of April to issues of victimization, issues related to the OCR dismantling, and issues to everything that we need to know and understand under Title IX and civil rights compliance. And so if you've been watching us and enjoying what we do and discuss, please remember to like all of our YouTube and Spotify podcasts and also subscribe to us. So, Nandini, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you so you can introduce our first topic for the month of April.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy. So, with April having started and us leaving March behind, leaving Women's History Month behind, it's almost like I've been sitting with this weight, or I've been having this recurring thought of what it means to move from Women's History Month into Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And both these months are meant to center women, but in different ways almost. One is through celebration, and the other is through almost reckoning or like in your face knowledge and information. But the kinds of conversations they provoke often tend to almost be the same from what I have seen. For instance, in March, the intention is to honor women's achievements, leadership, resilience. But alongside those celebrations, I remember on seeing on social media specifically, and even in like public conversations on other platforms, that the reminder was that women continue to face challenges, whether it be pay inequity or intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, and just the general ongoing struggle for safety, visibility, and empowerment. And I think the one post that really stayed with me from March that I think also fed to that contributing thought was it was from Mexico, and it explained how on International Women's Day, it's less of a celebration and it's more of a day of protesting. It's a day where women demand justice for those who have disappeared or those who have been murdered. And on platforms like TikTok, for instance, songs like Paloma's Labor, which has been playing nearly on every third video I watch. It speaks about gender inequality, social expectations, women's liberation, and it's resonated across borders. I've seen people from all over the world resonating to this song. And it's become a theme song, not just for March, not just for April, but also every day for the majority of women who live these realities as a part of their day-to-day life. And it what struck me then and now also, it's that even in a month meant for celebration, the responsibility falls on women to shed light on the violence they endure. Instead of just being honored, women spent the month of March, even accounts I follow that talk about these issues. Everyone spent the month of March, yes, celebrating women, but also amplifying the amount of obstacles, the amount of issues, the challenges they still continue facing. And now, even in April, the tone has shifted, but it's not lightened in any sense. Sexual Assault Awareness Month brings these same themes, but into like a much sharper focus and into the mainstream discussion. The emphasis then moves from visibility and survival, from visibility to survival, and from public recognition to personal risk, because women often also, as you would know, right, that women endure these risks to talk about their stories and bring attention to what happens to them. And time and again, we hear women, marginalized communities who are constantly exposing the harms they face and how urgent the change is needed and is required. And it almost raises these uncomfortable but necessary questions that, firstly, what does it mean and what does it say when two national months that are associated with women aren't marked by joy and celebration, but it's the continued legacy of doing the exhausting work of making violence visible, making it visible in conversations and demands and requests. So, basically, Dr. Sandy, I guess my question then is, in your work on Title IX, civil rights, you've helped campuses navigate exactly these areas and these spaces. And as we move through April, what does meaningful institutional support look like during Sexual Assault Awareness Month? Keeping in mind and keeping in context the changes that are happening to Title IX, to the Title IX landscape. And how do we ensure that survivors aren't the only ones who have to bear the weight of speaking out almost?
Thank you, Nandini. That is a very interesting question. As always, you always come up with wonderful questions. Um, institutional support truly is, especially during the month of April, outreach events, awareness events, things that will provoke the minds and thoughts of individuals on campus, not just the students and not just the men either. It's for everybody. It's going to be for the women, for the men, for employees, for the students, creating awareness through these events, especially in the month of April, to really symbolize and resonate with individuals that sexual violence does take place, sexual assault does take place, and what is it that we can do to bring a voice to it and bring a face to it also, not just the voice, but the face. And when I say that, I'm thinking about one thing that I truly always enjoy implementing on campuses, which is the Clothesline Project. The Clothesline Project to me is one of my favorites. I've done this in the Claremont colleges. I've done this over at California University of Science and Medicine, which is a medical school in California. I've done it at Colorado State University, and so whenever I'm speaking to schools, K through 12, community colleges, I'm always advising the Clothesline Project, mainly because it is a moment to have a mini celebration of life, per se, because there are survivors and there are individuals that we want to recognize. And so, you might have some music playing, you might have some food, um, for the community to gather and get together. And then in addition to that, you have activities such as the clothesline, where there are t-shirts and markers that individuals can write messages, poems, their own stories of survival. And they can hang those up on clotheslines to literally be hanging the entire month of April, which is what I tend to lean towards, so that individuals are remembering that these t-shirts represent individual stories, and that individuals themselves have survived something that is horrific, and they've come, through it to thrive, move forward, but they should have never gone through something like that to begin with. And that at the end of the day is really what this month of April is about. The fact that, yes, we are unfortunately having to recognize that these things occur and happen, so the awareness, needs to be there. But then what about the action? The action truly is that we need to stop and eliminate all forms of sexual violence and sexual assault. And so the awareness doesn't stop at just kind of educating the community about, you know, all these horrible things happened. It's about what do we do now as individuals to help stop it? How can we be better bystanders? How can we, as you ask me about what individuals can do, your second part of your question, how can men step up and look at their group of friends and say, you know what, we shouldn't be talking so derogatory about women? What about the conversations where they might hear, some very despicable comments being made about females or LGBTQ plus or minorities or whoever it may be, maybe even a disabled person? I would love to see, and I think a lot of programming and a lot of individuals do talk about this, which is that yes, women, we do stand up in March. We recognize ourselves. We know that we're strong, we're pushing forward, we're smart, we're brave. But at the same time, in April, we're talking about the victimization, the threats to our bodies, the comments made to us, the looks, all these things that are happening that need to stop. And it needs to stop with the support of men, the support of the men in our lives, the support of the men that are in these environments that do hear the comments of other men. And of course, this is going to be pointed to men, mainly because over 90% of the time, men are perpetrators. They are the perpetrators that we are discussing and describing. And so in the month of March, I love the fact that we are recognizing women and all of the accomplishments. And it is sad to think that then we go into April to talk about victimization. And unfortunately, that victimization also includes the fact that many times individuals are murdered, kidnapped, abducted. We don't see them. We don't know what happened to them, or we know what happened to them and their story ended. So, it isn't just about sexual violence awareness and then we just kind of walk away. This is the beginning of a conversation to figure out the actions we all need to do together to make it stop.
I agree, Dr. Sandy. I think that was an amazing answer. There was a lot that there was a lot that resonated and actually echoes true in a sense also, because very often even just picking off the example of social media, right? During the month of April, you'll see all these initiatives that are talking about sexual assault awareness. And the moment we move past from April 30th into May 1st, suddenly it's vanished from the conversation. No one's talking about it. And then next year comes around, next April comes around, and for 30 days again, we're in that same cycle of bringing light to all these issues. And then May 1st, again, we're back to ignoring it as if it never happened in the first place. So I think the fact that you're saying that April is not just it's not just a month, but it's the starting of a conversation that should not just include women, but should include the men around them, should include the communities around them is very important. Even I think on TikTok, I had seen a lot of these comments and posts, they were talking about this exact topic, and they were also saying that the education needs to start with the boys. It needs to start with the boys in the family. It needs to start with the boys in school, and that's where you bring the change at because issues like these can't be changed overnight. There needs to start grassroots level change and involving the community in uh, destigmatizing these issues, removing the feeling of taboo and shame from them, opening the spaces up for people to actually have a dialogue and communicate. And I think those are the things that are the most important in actually achieving change that we as the Title IX or the gender-based violence community try to push forth in the month of April at least.
Okay, so thank you so much, Nandini. Yes, I agree with everything you stated, and thank you so much for the compliment. I know I get very emotional and I get on my soapbox sometimes when it comes down to the importance of what sexual violence awareness actually means. And when we have campuses and schools that support that type of sentiment, it can be a very powerful combination to have a group like ours work with the school that understands the importance of it, because then you don't just have one event in a month, for example, you might have multiple events in a month, and you're really targeting the entire month at ensuring that individuals are understanding what's going on with awareness, with programming, maybe some self-defense, and so it can be a very enlightening month to, as you said, and as I said, begin the action to create a community that will fight against sexual violence and sexual assault and all forms of sexual harassment. So thank you, Nandini. So I think for today's programming, I think we're going to cut it short simply because this is an introduction to the month of April, and all of the remaining topics that we're going to do for this month are really going to lead into exactly discussing that male respondent, the impact that men and boys can have, and also discussing victimization and the effects of that and also a little bit more about OCR and how that impacts individuals too. I'm looking forward to the issues and topics that we're going to be doing this month. Nandini, is there anything you would like to add?
No, Dr. Sandy, I think, like you said, we will be covering a lot of topics throughout this month that are going to keep tying back to this beginning or introductory conversation. And a lot of the themes, a lot of the things we spoke about right now are going to keep getting reflected through conversations, through uh, posts, through like things we share as a company also throughout this month. And also keeps as like recurring themes throughout our work as well, and it's going to keep coming up. So I'm just looking forward to how we continue navigating this space as we open up all these conversations.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nandini. And again, for all of you that are watching and supporting Title IX Insider, please remember to like us and subscribe to us and share information about us with your friends and community. Thanks.